What's up, everybody? It's James here from the Sawyer Family Reviews channel, bringing you another toy review. I skipped last week, but I'm here this week. Today we're taking a look at something not Ninja Turtles. I know the last couple have been Ninja Turtles related. Today we're taking a look at Hudson from the NECA Gargoyles line. This happens to be my favorite gargoyle, Hudson. The NECA Gargoyles line has been sort of it's been a tough one for me. I love the original Gargoyles. I grew up watching Gargoyles. I had the Kenner line. And I was very excited for the NECA line. I got Goliath. He was an amazing figure, but his wings were so big that it made it kind of hard to display him. And so it made one of those things where I want to collect the line, I want to be able to display the line. And it was very hard to figure out a way to display Goliath. Like, he won't fit in a Detolf case with the wings the way they are. So I got him, and I think I got Phalog too. And then I kind of went, I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this just because of the whole difficulty in displaying things. But then they showed all those other figures at San Diego Con, and I was like, oh man, I really want to collect this line. And so now I'm getting into customizing the wings to make it a little easier to display so that I can collect this line and display it. But either way, no matter what was going to happen, I was going to get this Hudson, because Hudson, like I said, is my favorite gargoyle. Voiced by Ed Asner in the cartoon. He's the grizzled veteran of the group, so I had to have Hudson. Even if I wasn't collecting the rest of the line, I would have gotten Hudson. Does he live up to my hype, though? We're going to find out. Let's take him over to the picture table and we'll do a review. As always, we begin with a look at the packaging. So the Gargoyles NECA packaging is some of my favorite packaging currently going. I love this artwork on the front. Now, I've complained in some other videos about Ultimate style packaging and how it's, I'm getting a little tired of it, and I really don't like when they do a front panel that has nothing to do with the figure. Like, there's some Back to the Future ones where it's like a newspaper, or where it's like a Battle of the Bands flyer, where there's nothing to draw you in with the front of that packaging that tells you what the character is or what figure you're buying or make you excited about it. Whereas all the art on these Gargoyles ones are so attractive. They're so cool. I think they credit at the bottom here who did this art. Let's see. Cover illustration, line art by George Jakovic. I don't know if I said that name right. But the paintings by Emiliano Santalucia, who's a friend of mine from the He-Man.org days. So that's amazing. They chose the right guys to do the packaging. It's fantastic. It's just, I can't say enough good things about this illustration. And Hudson having such a cool action scene. He's at the clock tower thing above the police precinct, which is their home, their second home. He's guarding it, and there's snow falling. He's got his sword. It's such a great, cool shot of Hudson. Really love it. Then along the sides, we've got some images of the character as a figure, one with the angry head and one with the normal head. We've got the Gargoyles logo up top and Hudson. And on the back, we've got a little write-up about the Gargoyles. Frozen in stone by day, flesh and blood winged warriors by night. Awaking after 1,000 years, a band of powerful gargoyles find themselves transported to a time and place not their own, New York City. Here, the misunderstood creatures battle modern-day barbarians and struggle to understand their strange new world. Gargoyles, the legend begins. So this is my first Gargoyles NECA review. I do love the fact that a lot of these figures were first seen on this cross-sell. Like, this was the first time I think that we saw Lexington and Brooklyn and Broadway, maybe, was on a cross-sell package. And that's, like, unheard of these days, to see your figures for the first time on the back of a box. It's something that happened to me a lot as a kid, but it's kind of unheard of nowadays. So that was really cool that we saw those through the cross-sell first. And we've got this open panel here with another shot of the figure, and then your figure all laid out inside with the extra head. There's a cool backdrop behind there that's got a brown and tan color to it. I don't know what that looks like yet because I haven't actually opened him up yet. But yeah, so that's the packaging. Let's get him out of there. Okay, we've got Hudson out of the box. Now I'm going to reserve my thoughts talking about all that stuff until after I've got the wings on. But I wanted to show you guys articulation first before I got the wings on, because it's going to be much easier to manage the articulation without those wings on there. So, first of all, he's got the Gargoyle toes that hinge back and forth, and then they're on a ball, like, what do they call that? What do you call that again, James? Rocker. So it kind of swivels back and forth on sort of an angle. And then at the top, at the ankle area, we've got another joint there that's very similar. It's ratcheting, so it hinges back and forth, but it also rocks. So you got a sort of a double rocker here. Both the toe area and then the heel have that rocker articulation. And then it feels like, yeah, so there's a swivel at the knee where it inserts into here, and then it also hinges there. And all of these joints so far have been ratcheting, which is really nice. On a heavy figure like this, you really need those ratcheting joints to be able to hold poses. I love that. It does feel like there's supposed to be a swivel here as well, but mine don't want to move back and forth, and I don't want to force them and twist them off in case that's not actually a joint there. But either way, there's still so much articulation between here and here that I don't care if that doesn't swivel. Then we've got that ball and socket or barbell style hip inside there, so it's mounted on a ball, and that can move around. It is hindered by this loincloth piece, but then it also inserts into the thigh, so then we've got that swivel at the top of the thigh. There's not a ton of range here at the top of the hip, but again, I mean, there's a lot of articulation in these legs. Some of it's going to have to be sacrificed for the design of the figure. It's just how it is. With a plastic loincloth like this, unless you were going to do this all in cloth, which I don't think would look as good, you're going to be able to get all that painted detail and all that cool like hang to it with a cloth actual cloth loincloth. Although you'd probably get better hip articulation, I think that the look would suffer for it. Then we've got articulation at the waist that's on a ball. And then also mid-torso, which I didn't even know was there until I started messing around with this. So there is a mid-torso joint here, very well hidden. It looked like that was all one sculpt, but it's not. It actually has a split joint there. Then we've got rotation at the shoulder. These shoulder pads do get in the way a bit, though, so you'd have to kind of hinge out if you wanted to rotate all the way around. I think even then you're going to be rubbing up against this, and I really don't want to do that and leave marks on the figure itself. Then we've got a swivel at the top of the bicep. We've got a double elbow joint that gets you a lot of movement. Look at that. And then we've got a wrist rotation that then hinges in and out. And then the head is also mounted on a ball joint. There's not a lot of movement on him, but you can't expect a lot of movement for a character with a beard like this and hair like this. I just want to highlight, though, the back of this figure. Look how cool that armor looks. Look at that. That is so cool looking, the way that's segmented and stuff. Very well articulated figure. Things do get a little more hindered when you get the wings on. It's tough to make it work as much just because it's got big wings on its back. Let's get those wings on there so we can see the Hudson in his full glory, though. Hang on. All right, we've got Hudson's wings on there. Right off the bat, these did feel much better than... At the beginning of the video, I had said that I had Goliath and Thalog, but I didn't mention that I did play catch-up when Hudson started to hit. I do have Demona. I do have Bronx. I have the full line. Putting the wings on him, it felt so much more secure. Like, it felt like it gripped in there better. I felt like there was a definitive snap when I got the wings in. Not a bad snap, but a good snap. The kind you feel like, okay, that's locked in. That feels good. And they're staying up really well. There's no sag to them whatsoever. And they don't feel like, I don't know, almost like Goliath's wings almost feel somewhat brittle. Like they feel like a tinny plastic. And these, while they do feel like a harder plastic, I don't know, it just feels more quality overall. They're also not as huge as Goliaths are, or even Demona's are pretty wide out there. His wings feel like they're a better size to me overall. Like, this isn't as crazy as some of those other ones are. I'm still going to get a second one to do a wing mod on, so I can make them smaller and more curled in, because I feel like the Gargoyles spend a lot more time with their wings down than they did out like this. I understand what NECA's doing here. They want to give you a really cool display option, but it would be cool if there were two sets of wings for everybody. I know that's kind of unrealistic, but these wings are great. They have holes in them. He's weathered and he's old. There's a nice darker pattern on the back than there was on the interior. They feel a little more like bat wings, just the coloring does, than the others have so far. The wings are really cool on this guy. I'm going to bring him forward some. I know that's going to cut off his wings, but this way he's just a little closer to the camera. Let's go over what all he comes with. So he comes with a couple of sets of hands and then one extra hand on top of that. So we've got a set of sort of posed clawing hands. These are really nice. The nails are a different color than the skin texture itself. This whole thing, too, the paint job is just amazing. It's got like this flat paint to it. It's not glossy at all. It just feels a lot more weathered and like dusty and just old. Like, he just feels older than the other characters by this paint job. I don't know what it is about it, but it just feels that way. Then we got a couple of gripped hands. So these are both the left hand. One's more open than the other. Like this feels like it's almost entirely closed, and this one's a bit more open. So this one you would use to hold the sword that he comes with, and he comes with his sword. There you go, there's that guy. The sword has like this little bit of a design on it, which is something I think that NECA came up with on their own. It still feels like almost like a stone sword. It's got these nice little chips in it. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And so then we've got this hand, which is the more open hand. I'm going to put it in that one. So yeah, that looks like that one's meant to grip that. I don't know what the tight one is meant to grip. Maybe it's just also supposed to grab this. One cool thing about the sword, too, is that there's actually a spot on his belt to put the sword. That's cool. I'm a big sucker for when figures can store their weapons. So the fact that Hudson can put his sword there, I think is super cool. Then we've got one more hand that is quite open, but it looks like it's meant to be grabbing something. And I think it's meant to hold the book of spells that comes with Demona, because it holds it really well. Like it looks like it's definitely meant to hold that. So it's kind of cool that he's including a hand to hold an accessory from another character. Since this book plays a big part in Gargoyles, it's cool that multiple characters can hold it. And then last but not least, we've got this extra head, which is the more angry look for Hudson. I prefer the more regular stoic looking faces to these angry faces. But if I ever end up getting a second set of some of these guys, these are the ones I would display with these more open wings. And I would do the more relaxed faces for the more closed wings. But these are really cool, really well painted. I like the fully white eyes on him. Yeah, that's a cool head sculpt. Give me one moment. I have to grab something. Okay, sorry about that. I had forgotten to grab my vintage Kenner Hudson because I wanted to show you get these guys side by side to show you how far things have come. Oh, one more thing I want to show you too. I want to get kind of close in on this head sculpt, which is kind of tough with the way my camera is sitting. We'll just, oh yeah, lay down there, buddy. Look at that. Look at those eyes. He's got the one eye that is more of a yellow tint to it, the eye with the scar, the dead eye. That is cool, man. This paint job is just, I can't get over how cool it is. It's so weathered. Like the armor's got little bits of silver showing where there's little chips and stuff. And like I said, he just has an overall like dusty feel to him. Like he feels like an older warrior, man. There's like this almost like a dirt texture to the shirt. And there's this wash on the pants that's really nice. It's bringing out some of the highlights in the muscles. Man, what a great figure. This is by far my favorite figure in this line so far. And it's great because it's my favorite character. Again, let's bring in that Hudson from Kenner. And this figure is great for its time. It's great for its time. I wasn't disappointed in this guy at all. But it definitely shows its age next to this NECA figure. The NECA figure is much more detailed. This maybe, you know, it's got more of the animated feel, like the cartoon. And this is almost as if the Gargoyles existed in real life. But yeah, there's your side-by-side on those guys. Now I'm going to bring in some other Gargoyles from the line. I'm going to bring over Demona, and I'm going to bring in Goliath, but I'm going to have to bring them in one at a time just because of the wings. Oh, wing articulation. Yeah, he does have articulation at the wings. It is hindered by the hair, but it's got the same joint as the other ones. But you can see it just like, if you had the other Gargoyles, you know how this works. But it just feels so much better on him. It really works a lot better. And then he's also got that tail articulation. I didn't mention that before either, which you plug this in yourself. It swivels around. It's got a hinge back and forth, and it's a bendy. So it's great for supporting the character because they are a little on the top-heavy side. So we've got his wings down a little bit. That might make it easier to get other characters in here to compare him with. So here's Demona, and I've done a wing mod on her to make her wings a little bit more flapped down. There's a great video on YouTube. I don't know the YouTuber's name. I'm sorry, I've forgotten it. But he showed how to do this with a heat gun by heating them up and kind of pinching them. And the gargoyle wings are like, they're like, you know, bony, leathery bat wings. So it doesn't have to look perfect. It can be a little bit off and it still feels right. So I love the way that that looks all folded down. But that's him next to Demona. And the size there is just about right. That looks really good. Hudson's not the tallest gargoyle in the world, but he's the thickest one, it feels like. Well, Broadway's thicker. All right, I'm going to try and get Goliath in here. Let's take out Demona. Put her over to the side. I've done the same wing mod on Goliath. I don't know if it's really going to work out. Yeah, they're kind of both in camera. So there's your side-by-side with Goliath to show you the size of those two. I will eventually do a wing mod on Hudson. Even though I love his wings, much better than the other ones so far, I do want more characters on the shelf. And this doesn't work as well as it does with these wings kind of more condensed. All right. So final thoughts on Hudson. This is the best figure in the Gargoyles line so far. I love this Hudson. I think I can hear his voice. Like, I can see this figure and I can hear the character talking. If one character was going to get this all-out treatment, I'm so glad it happened to be my favorite character in the line. Hudson's awesome. The figure is awesome. I believe the retail on him is like $40, around that. It's going to be $40, I think it is, when it hits all these different stores. A friend of mine picked this one up for me. I honestly don't even know the exact amount it cost. I think it was $41.99. I can't remember. But, you know, that's the going rate for large figures these days. And this is a large figure. I mean, it's got a lot going on. So I think he's awesome. If you're collecting the Gargoyles line, definite pickup. If you had some troubles dealing with the wings on Goliath or Demona and you were hesitant to pick up more, I suggest you grab him because it feels like they're correcting things. Like, things feel way better on him than it did on those other releases. That's about it. Let me know what your favorite gargoyle is down in the comment section down below. If you enjoy the videos, like, subscribe, notify, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.